I feel like in this room that is hyper-educated in the mobility space, we often think about the transferee, but we sometimes lose sight of the family. And so Elizabeth Sawyer from Bennett International is going to tell you a story. Please give it up for Elizabeth.
Thank you, Ben. I can't follow that. And thank you all for being here. I was so convinced when I agreed to this, nobody's going to show up at 9 o'clock on the Friday of ERC. So I was one of those kids who grew up and went to school in different countries. And after a career in teaching, it was therefore very natural for me to step into relocation, supporting families with education needs for their children. And over the years, I have built myself a soapbox, which I'm about to climb up on, which is repatriation and the importance of never forgetting the reality and the requirements of repatriation for assignees and their children. So I'm going to tell you a story, Angelita's story, in her voice. And she's an example of a situation where planning would have made all the difference, and her return to Brazil would have been a very different story. Hi, my name is Angelita, and I'm Brazilian. Well, sort of. I was born in Brazil. My parents are Brazilian, but we left when I was 8 years old, so it's not like I feel Brazilian or anything. So I am 16, and I'm going into high school in New Jersey. I go to a public school, and my boyfriend tells me I'm really smart because I get really good grades, and I play varsity soccer and basketball. So my education story is all over the place, literally, because my dad is this genius or something with a pharma company, and because of him, we've moved all over the world. And I mean, it's been really cool and stuff. I mean, kind of hard, but you know. So we left Brazil when I was 8, and we went to England, and the first thing that my parents did was they decided that they weren't going to talk Portuguese to me anymore, which was one of their weirder moves, but they thought that that was how I would learn English. And I did have to learn English, but it kind of freaked me out. So I remember totally the first day of school where I walked in and all the kids were looking at me and whispering and staring, and I didn't understand a word that they said. So I did learn English. I mean, being 8, I picked up spoken English pretty quickly, but reading and writing it was a totally different story. I couldn't take a test or anything, and so I had to just get used to feeling sort of dumber than the other kids, or at least always behind them. But I did learn English. I settled in. I made friends, but we were in London for only 2 years, and then 2 years in Singapore, when the genius got this big deal promotion in New Jersey. So I had always wanted to go to the US, maybe more like California or New York than New Jersey, but whatever. But we moved when I was in 7th grade, and that was really hard because it was already middle school and a middle school curriculum, and the American education system, which I hadn't ever experienced before. The other thing was I was in 7th grade, and you know what 7th grade girls are like? Well, oh my God. I was so miserable, and I really just wanted to go home, but I didn't even at that point know where home was. So I'd always been a pretty good student, but my grades started to slip, and I didn't even care. And I was thinking about trying to make friends, but I was like, what's the point? We're just going to move again. And so I was pretty miserable. But then things started to open up for me. I discovered sports, which I'd never done before, and I became friends with the girls on my soccer and my basketball teams, and life really started to open up. And I can say that by last year, 10th grade, I was really happy. A group of friends, I was finally totally comfortable learning in English, and if you said to me, where are you from, I would say, hey, I'm a Jersey girl. But guess what? We're moving again. We're going home to Brazil earlier than expected, and I am so screwed because I haven't studied in Portuguese in 8 years. I can speak it with my parents, but I can't read or write it anymore. And I tried to keep up with it while we were on assignment, but everywhere we went, I had homework in English, and it was just too hard to keep, trying to study stuff in Portuguese. And it's too late for me to go back into the Brazilian education system. When I go back, it'll be halfway through 11th grade. And that's part of a 3-year program in Brazil leading up to this huge exam called the vestibulário. And it decides whether you even go to university or not. So with my Portuguese, there's no way I can pass it. Absolutely no way. And so I could do an IB in an international school, but my parents can't afford it, and my dad's company says they won't pay for it because I'm going home. And I'm like, WTF? I mean, that is not home. New Jersey is home for me now. And I'm so mad at my parents, I'm not even speaking to them, because they promised I could finish high school in New Jersey. And I mean, I get it, but it's just like, I wish somebody had made a plan, a viable plan for my education, my future, not just Dad's.
Great job, Elizabeth.